Please tell us about your role here at the International Symposium and at the IC.
Thank you very much.
Well, I've had the great pleasure of delivering a lecture on the importance of culture and identity in global relations, a subject I feel very passionately about, and also taking part in panels on the role of global organisations in supporting cultural knowledge and understanding, and tomorrow on the role of the European Union. So it's an interesting event. It's important to have the discussions around about the speeches and panels, as well as take part in those speeches and panels. And I hope what I've had to say has contributed to the event.
Soft power is a very important term in the cultural diplomacy movement. What is your understanding of this term?
Well, I feel very optimistic about multilateral relations in our world today. I think there is a greater understanding of the importance of soft power and a greater commitment to the use of soft power tools than there has been for some time, and I think global relations are changing as a result. But I also think that we need to change the way that we look at cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy in the West and the developed world has tended to be defined as creating a greater knowledge and understanding of our cultures. Whereas actually I think the most important cultural diplomacy for a really peaceful and sustainable world might be for us to develop our knowledge and understanding of other cultures. And I would hope that cultural diplomacy is seen as more of a two-way process in the future than perhaps it's been seen in the past.
Do you think the use of soft power is threatened by the ongoing economic crisis in Europe?
Well, I think the economic crisis will affect spending on cultural programmes. It will affect the work of the international institutions, because budget decisions will have their impact. And there is at least a possibility that people might retrench because of economic circumstances to be more parochial, more insular in their thinking. But it's also possible that events might pull us in the other direction. That the creation of the G20, for example, might open up other avenues for international cooperation, for a voice internationally for those emerging powers in other continents. It is possible that the economic crisis results in a greater understanding of the need for multilateral cooperation, not just on the economy but on other issues too. It is possible that arising out of this short-term crisis, in the longer term, we actually have a more sustainable international economic framework, and that can only be good, I think. My tendency would be to believe that it will be the latter rather than the former.
How can soft power be used to stabilize the democracy in Afghanistan?
Well, I think the need for a comprehensive approach in Afghanistan is now increasingly used description of what is required, but nonetheless absolutely essential prerequisite for real progress. There can be no solely military solution to the challenge that the international powers face in the hills of Afghanistan. There has to be not just an internal to Afghanistan framework for peace and progress, for better governance, for civic engagement, but also a regional cooperation with the neighbouring states that ensures that any solution is long-term and sustainable.
Great Britain has had its share of conflicts as well over the past decade. How did you use soft power during your term as First Minister?
Well, in Northern Ireland, which is the most closest example of a conflict to my country, Scotland, we were able in Scotland to talk when their peace process was struggling to make the progress that had begun with the agreement signed back in 1998. We were able to show that devolution of power, the taking of responsibility in Scotland, had made a difference to lives in Scotland, and persuade the politicians in Northern Ireland that it was worth taking those extra steps, making those final compromises to secure the devolved power that will let them take forward their economy and improve their society in Northern Ireland. Not just put behind them long-term grievances and divisions, but also have the policies that they can implement that are appropriate in their own country, rather than always rely on somebody somewhere else to make those decisions. So I hope that as a tool of diplomacy, that dialogue that we had, the example we were able to set, has been useful there, and I think increasingly the devolved nations of the UK are now sharing experiences in a way that will entrench the progress in Northern Ireland for the future.